Welcome to Her Story of Success, a podcast featuring stories from influential women trailblazers and business leaders in hopes of inspiring you throughout your own journey of success and fulfillment. I'm Leah Glover Hayes, your host and CEO of Her Story of Success Women's Business Collective. Today, I am so excited to be talking to one of my heroes, Arlan Hamilton. Arlan is the founder and managing partner of Backstage Capital, which is a venture fund that invests into underrepresented founders, including women, people of color, and LGBTQ individuals. Arlan's story of starting Backstage Capital while experiencing homelessness is so inspiring, especially since now she's raised over $10 million in the last 5 years. Arlan's going to talk about some of her biggest lessons from her new book, It's About Damn Time, and she shares the affirmations that inspired her to keep going through the many, many challenges she faced. Arlan also explains how you can become an asset by continuing to learn while also taking action, reaching your goals. And I have a special co-host with me today, my friend and mentor, Brittany Cole. She's the CEO of Career Thrivers. Because I believe when you get an amazing opportunity to interview your hero, it's more fun to share it with someone who has the same hero. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you do, please share it with a friend, coworker, mentor, or mentee that could use this story of power and resilience. All right, well, we are here with Arlan Hamilton, CEO of Backstage Capital and author of this amazing new book, It's About Damn Time, which was an awesome read for me, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys. And really, I thought at first it might just be for entrepreneurs, but I really feel like this is for everyone because it says how to turn being underestimated into your greatest advantage. So Arlan, would you share with us just like what made you decide to write this book and who did you write it for?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I decided to write the book like a year and a half ago, I think at this point, because I get a lot of requests for people to have me mentor them or to pick my brain or this, that, and the other. And there's more requests than there is time in the world. So I wanted a really accessible way for people to be able to hear from me and to get some of the key things that I believe and have it all in one place. I also thought, how cool would it be to have like a mile marker and to have kind of this place in time where I was able to document where I was in this moment, because I feel like I have so much more to do and so much more to learn. And then once I've learned it, so more to then share, that I wanted it to be like this kind of a line in the sand to know, and also like breadcrumbs, for other people, because a lot of advice people give, if it's advice, it can't always apply to you. But
That's
if
a good
somebody
point.
shares a story, you can pick out pieces of it that really resonate.
I love that. And I love that you did a little a note to the reader. And one of the quotes that Brittany, and I didn't even introduce my co-host, I'm so sorry, Brittany Cole of Career Thrivers. She's a personal mentor of mine. But one of the quotes that she put about you was that you deserve it. You deserve to be backstage, on stage, or in the front row. And I think that you captured so much in that quote. And I want you to share. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I took from it was that, we're all different and we all have different aspirations and we have different dreams. And some people want to be on stage, some want to be behind stage, but I'm a concert goer. And so like your story of Janet Jackson and getting in the front row, like, oh, it was so cool.
Yeah.
So I just, when you wrote that about you deserve it and you can be on stage, backstage, or in front row, what did you mean by that? Or what was going through your mind when you wrote that?
I just meant, and it was towards the end, I just meant that it's, we spend so much time looking around and either literally asking for permission or internally seeking permission or somebody's blessing to do something. And then we also, a lot of times I find we hold ourselves back from things. Like when people ask me, well, why did you do this? Or how did you have the courage to do this? I just feel like, why shouldn't I? And why shouldn't we have that. You only get so many years in this world, in this body, and in the position that you're in, and you can choose to do things on a daily basis that really stretch that time. Maybe not long ways, but wide, right?
Right.
And so spending so much time hoping and waiting for somebody else to say, yeah, you can sit here, this is your spot, it's like a waste to me. So I just wanted to, if you were waiting for a permission or waiting for somebody's blessing, I was like, there you go. You have it. It's yours. And you do that for yourself.
I love that, Arlan. And I would add to that, as the owner of a leadership development firm, I do a lot of work in the diversity and inclusion space. So what I took from that quote also was this very clear picture of what equity looks like, in terms of, taking those two seats and hearing that story in your voice, because I got to listen to you share that story via Audible. It was such a clear picture of the times that we're in right now and how you can allow someone to stand in front of you that's a bit shorter and still see the full concert and it not cost you anything. Just curious about kind of your perspective on that, especially in the times that we're in and in the way that you have so cemented the value proposition for Backstage Capital.
Sure. We talk about sharing privilege a lot. We've been talking about that as an ecosystem a lot recently. But in the last month, things are so different and so the same. Like they're the same, but they're different in that who's paying attention and who's taking it seriously now. That's what's really changed. And I think that it's a moment for a lot of allies to understand. Like I just had a conversation with this investor named Jason Calacanis, and in the past he said some weird things that I've called him out on about women, but it wasn't so like evil. You know how you can when people are being evil or when they're being ignorant.
Yeah,
his is more ignorant, and I would call him out on it a couple of years ago, and he would kind of get it. This time he said to me in the interview, he said, "Wait a minute, I had to sit down and really think about it. When you say Black Lives Matter, you're not saying that Black lives matter more or that no other people matter. You are saying that Black lives matter at all, and for him to say that and like you could just see the light bulb going off. I thought that was really great progress and a good example of what, at least I hope, I know not everybody wants the same thing that I want, but I just hope that, allies are coming to their senses, and those who were not allies are coming to their senses. And talk about being woke. Everybody's awake right now. If you take a
yes,
right
now, yeah,
what's going on?
Brittany and I've had a lot of conversation, and I would like to pose this question to both of you, but because Arlan, you've had a long road of change and opening people's minds. I love the thing that you were doing with the 10,000 people. So I would love to hear a little bit, and I love that story about Jason and seeing the light bulb go off. But I feel like you've been an agent of change for a long time. And what are some of those other stories that maybe you saw the light bulb go off, whether it be somebody understanding how they have not helped women or people of color or even the gay community? What are some of those things that you're like, okay, here's why I know what I'm doing matters and why you've done such a good job of continuing to push forward in such a place of like peace? I just feel like you're such a calm person, and that you just, people want to listen to you and they want to learn from you because you have so much empathy of the other person.
Thank you. I can't think of right off the bat like an exact example other than the Jason one recently, but there are a lot of people who over the past 3 or 4 weeks have reached out to me personally, or I've seen struggling online a little bit, and they're struggling because they're being called out from something in the past that they may have said. And so one of the things I did was put my own call out. I put my own Medium post that I wrote 5 years ago about the previous decade, where I said, I got these 3 things wrong.
Oh.
And I laid out these 3 things that are pretty important. One of them very important, that I had gotten wrong. And so 5 years ago, I wrote this story and I said, today in 2020 to release this again, to show you again is very scary. And therefore I understand what it's like if you are someone who considers themselves an ally, and this happens to more white women than white men. You consider yourself an ally because you figured it out earlier than the guys, but you also have people with some receipts of maybe you saying the wrong thing or you're not being as inclusive as you wanted to, right? Years ago, I think there's no, I don't have any authority to forgive you for someone else.
Oh,
that doesn't exist.
Yes.
But I will say that everybody has that. Everybody has something they wish they hadn't said or wish they would have a chance to do again. And with more information, I mean, even if we watch the TV show Friends, if we watch The Office, if you watch all these sort of shows that we love, these people, they're so endearing to us. And even they were written by a diverse writing team. But you see, 20 years ago, it was okay to say that. And it isn't now. And so I just see those examples. And sometimes people are pushing back against that and saying, that's not me. And how dare you bring that up? And I don't know if that's the track. The tact is, man, yeah, that gives me pause. I'm so sorry I said that. That's not how I feel. And I'm, and you kind of keep moving forward with it.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that has been more effective than getting super defensive, which is so easy to do.
It is. Yeah. It reminds me, Leah, I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago of just kind of the mindset that I try to take around all of this. I think it's important to make the demands. Like you see, employers, you see investors even saying, hey, especially in corporate, which is my background coming from corporate America, like, it's great that you put out a great statement and a really polished communications, but what is the strategy? What are the tactics? How are you going to action on this? So I think it's great that we make demands, but I think it's also important that we proceed with that grace because you're going to make mistakes. We're all learning. There's a lot of unlearning. Thus there's relearning. And with that comes, you're not going to cross every T and dot every I. So I love that you shared that, Arlan.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions from when you were younger. So,
okay.
There's a lot of things in our past that's very different, but a lot of things that are pretty similar. And in one of the interviews, you talked about having an encyclopedia set, and you talked about how you're such a curious person. And when you said that, it was like I literally went back to like being in the floor, like flipping through encyclopedias in my mind, just being like, oh my gosh, I never knew. So as a child, being this curious person, what did it mean to you to either have encyclopedia sets or like where did you cultivate this curiosity and where did you learn from the most, whether it was encyclopedias or somewhere else?
Actually, what I learned the most, I as curious as I was, I had a hard time in school. I was very good academically because I could catch on pretty quickly, and I learned to read very, very young, so that was super helpful. But school never really worked for me. But the way that I kind of cultivated the curiosity and where it came from and where it has paid off so much now is that, kindergarten and first grade, looking out on the playground and looking at people and thinking and talking to people. I used to have office hours, in the first
Arlan's office hours.
Yeah, I did. I really did. And I remember very distinctly looking out into the playground and just being very curious about how people were feeling and what they were thinking and what their life at home was like. And just, I can still see it. It's like there's certain things that you can just never forget. And I can just still see panning my mind, my eyes panning the playground and stopping on someone playing. And I'm just like, I wonder if they're really happy. They're smiling, but I wonder if they're really, and I'm like 6 or something, and
your
and
wisdom.
It was in that curiosity that followed me everywhere, preceded me everywhere almost, which was, I wonder what makes them tick. I wonder about them. And then it became, I wonder what it's like to be in a different country. I wonder what people eat over there. And I wonder what it's like. How can it possibly be dark somewhere else and it's light here? That's so crazy, all these different thoughts. And now actually one of my nieces reminds me a lot of that. She has a very interesting mind and she thinks of things in such a strange way, in a beautifully strange way. So I can also see how it is a little alienating for some people, the way that I kind of thought about things, but it pays off. So my little niece is going to be very, very okay.
She'll be very successful. I can tell.
Definitely pays off. I love probably one of my favorite quotes, Arlan, in the book. And I literally have a little wall here of like, I love quotes and just affirmations, but one that I added from you is, if you don't have any assets, become the asset. Talking about how you cultivated your intellectual capacity. So I'm curious, in this day and age where we have all of this information, content at our fingertips, what is that balance between become the asset, learning and acquiring more information, and also analysis paralysis, because you never move on the information that you're learning?
I thought about this too. Yeah, there are some people who that's exactly it. Like you see them 1 year and they're working on something, working on a company or working on a project. And you're like, wow, that sounds actually pretty awesome. Can't wait to see what happens. And then you run into them like a year later and it's like, okay, what happened with that? It's okay if you stop doing it. But they're like, no, I didn't stop doing it. I'm still doing it. Like, what are you doing? I haven't done anything. Because I haven't been able to raise any money. Like, oh, okay. Well, so you're just going to keep just like treading water. You're just going to keep just learning as much as you can about it, but not making any action behind it because you're waiting on some sort of phantom milestone that then will become an excuse, And so I think it can be very easy and comfortable for people to stay locked in one place. I also really value taking time to figure things out and to strategize before acting. So I think it's a combination that is the special sauce. There is a drive and an ambition that is mixed with focus and resolve and intention. If you have all those things at once, you have, to me, almost the perfect founder.
Yeah. I love that. I do want to talk about how you view founders and what you look for. But something that struck me so much about you is just this, I feel like you come from this place of peace and you're completely comfortable with who you are and where you're going in your life. But you also talk about imposter syndrome in your book. So I'd love to hear a little bit about maybe where that peace and confidence comes from and how you still struggle with imposter syndrome.
Well, I don't struggle with imposter syndrome. What I try to say in the book is that I think imposter syndrome is something that is actually, I don't know who it is, but I think somebody with an agenda has added that to the mainstream idea, because it gives us a lot of things to talk about and to kind of distract us from going out and getting ours.
I love it.
And so I don't subscribe to there being a possibility of imposter syndrome, and I encourage people to look beyond what you think you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be, look beyond what rooms you think you're supposed to be in. Because as Michelle Obama said in her new documentary on Netflix, she's been in the biggest rooms on the planet, and half people don't know how they got there. So you press on. And I feel a peace and a confidence both come from becoming the asset, both come from the information. So because I know what I know, and because every single day without fail, I make sure I learn something. Like I print stuff out, or I'll listen to a podcast, or I'll listen to an audio book, or I'll watch something. I'll just make sure that I've learned something every day. And of course, with talking to so many people across so many industries and backgrounds and all of that, you can't help but to learn. So when you get nervous, like I used to be so bad at public speaking, I was so nervous and I wouldn't do it, but now I've spoken a couple hundred times, some keynotes.
Fireside chats.
Yes, right.
All the things.
Right. So, but one of the reasons one might be nervous, and it's like half the population, is that you don't feel confident in what you're talking about. You don't, you're afraid of, what if I forget, or what if I don't know the answer to this question and it's live, and there's that pressure. What if I'm not good enough to get that across?
Yeah.
Well, one way that I was able to get past stage fright, one of many, but one major way was in just like saying, wait, what do I know so much about that I can speak to, and that I can, and are there little pockets of information I don't have? How can I just get that? And, as long as you have access to the internet, which is not everybody, but it's a lot of people, you have an ability to learn that information and to plug in the holes of information you don't necessarily have a firm grasp on. And on top of that, also knowing it's okay, like somebody said, I might have been me. I honestly think it was me. Okay.
I love that.
I think somebody smart said,
wait a minute, that was my quote.
I think it was because I said, I don't know anyone who's died of embarrassment. Maybe it was Shonda Rhimes. It was Shonda Rhimes.
Oh, I love her.
Shonda Rhimes. She said, I don't know anyone who has died of embarrassment, or maybe it was me. I don't know. One of either Shonda Rhimes or I said that. We can look it up. But I don't know anyone who has died of embarrassment.
Yeah.
So just kind of taking that risk of, I'm going to learn as much as I can. And then if I don't know, I'm going to say it. I got to say I don't know. And then we're going to move on.
I love that.
I was glancing over here at my wall, Arlan, and another quote of yours. we can say this one straight from the book. In order to become, I needed to be. I love that. Can you talk a little bit about how you cultivated this sense of confidence in your competence through information, but also through affirmation?
Yeah, I am. Anyone who knows me very well, like as a friend or family member, knows that I am not usually someone who looks for an outside power, a higher power. So I don't. Sometimes I'll be like, I don't know if that quote over there or this or that is for me. Mm-hmm. But I'm very, very, very open to other people's opinions and their beliefs, and like more of a theologist track, Mm-hmm. And so for me, I feel like a lot of it has been being my own coach. Like you have the stuff on the wall. I used to have, like, just a couple of years ago, up until a couple of years ago, I had like a whiteboard that would just say, keep going, exclamation. It would be in permanent ink, so I could never erase it. Keep going. It also said, we don't beg. Ooh. And that was my moment, because I had so many people backing out of deals for a good clip of time. And every time it would happen, I would cry, or I would be so frustrated, or it would knock me off my feet. And so I put that up there so that the next time I'm on the phone and someone's saying, oh yeah, that money we said we're going to give you, it's not happening, I would look at it and say that. Or if I were negotiating, I could look up at it, because now when I negotiate, I mean, I've raised millions and I've earned millions of dollars all in the last 5 years. So when I negotiate now, I think about, like, we don't beg. I do the royal we.
Ooh, yes.
we don't beg. We don't beg. When I think about that, it's like, I could lose this. I may not get this. And that's going to be just fine. But I'm not going to cross a line that I don't want to cross in order to try to convince somebody. We do not beg.
I love that. So the last question that we ask, and I wanted to give you a minute to think about it, but how do you define success today? Because I know every day is a little bit different, and they change it, and it changes, especially since COVID has come upon us. But how do you define it today? And then just share with our folks where they can find you.
Sure. Success to me today is in being able to do what I want and catalyze other people and have autonomy in doing so. I'm almost there, not quite, but I'm almost there. It's also in not being scared or worried about, 5 years ago, scared, worried about food and worried about living somewhere and worried about money. Success is the day, which I think is pretty soon, that I cannot look at my bank account every single day and worry. I don't need to worry today, but because I have 35 years of that experience, it's a habit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember watching Oprah one time, and there was a woman on there who had lost a lot of weight. And she said that when she walks through a crowded room, she still moves her body as if she's very heavy airs and around people, and she's making so much space because she's so used to that. Yeah. And I imagine that would be the same for me if that happened. But that's how I think about this. I still move around a room as someone who might lose it, who might not have that stability, even though that's changed. And so success to me is moving beyond that. I also believe, though, the fact that I feel that way is helpful to me, because it helps me stay grounded and it helps me stay really close to founders and founder problems, yes. which sets me apart in the venture space. So I'm not trying to get rid of it just yet. And then people can reach me at Arlan Was Here, ARLAN. I think it's written here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where it is on my screen. I don't know if it's on yours. Arlan Was Here on Instagram and Twitter. That's where you can find me. And also It's About Damn Time is the book, and it'saboutdamntime.com is where you can find many ways to purchase it.
Awesome. Arlan, if I may, I have one really brief question to ask you. Curious, I know your entire story, the word that rings out of my mind is resilience. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, what does it mean to you to be a thriver, to really thrive through challenges and overcome?
It probably goes back to the imposter syndrome thing. It's about just not listening to a bunch of noise. Not listening to a bunch of noise. I have a rule that's it's unspoken, but it's spoken now, that if you don't pay my rent, you did not give birth to me, or I did not give birth to you, we don't have much to talk about when it comes to how I should be living my life. That's just kind of, the rule for me. And then beyond that, you still don't get to say how I should live my life, but we don't even get to have the discussion unless you fall into one of those three categories. So thriving is all up to you. Thriving is all up to you. Circumstances, yes, man. Believe me, I've been hungry. I know what circumstances can knock you down all day long. But that doesn't. There are many Black men that I can quote. One in particular I'm thinking about is Shenga Shakur, I believe is his last name, but I may be saying that wrong. He was in prison for 20 plus years, and a lot of that was like 7 years of isolation. And it was for something he did as a teenager, and after he had been shot by someone, he did something back, and it was just like most of his life is, gone. And he said the way he got out of it, and now he's working with Oprah and he's doing all these things as someone I got to meet. So the way he got out of it is, he said, they can imprison my body, but they can't imprison my mind.
Yeah.
And you people can say all they want around you, but they can't get in here if you don't let them.
That's powerful. I love that. Thank you so much. I know that you have to run, and we just so appreciate you spending some time with us today. And we're both fans of yours, fangirls for sure, and are so grateful that that you took this time with us today. And we will continue to follow your journey and support all the things that you do, because we just love who you are. I love the person that you are, what you stand for, how you let shorter people in front of you. I'm 5'2", so I appreciate that. But I just appreciate the way that you show up in the world, and the way that you make everyone around you that know you and know of you feel so special, and like that we can do it too. So I just appreciate you, and thank you so much.
And it's about damn time.
Yes.
It is. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a good day who is watching and on the screen too. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks for joining me. To subscribe, click the circular icon, and to watch the latest episode, click the video on the right. If you listen to podcasts, check out Her Story of Success on your favorite podcast platform. See you next time.